Hey everyone, welcome back. So I went over to the Mont. It's the restaurant on east side of Portland that I used to show at, although it was called Wild Abandon years ago. So now it has new ownership, and I met with one of the owners slash manager, and I got to check out the space. And it looks great. It's really bright and it got a color makeover. So the colors inside are very specific. And I need to make sure my paintings that I'm going to display and sell there are going to work within that space, right? We don't want to have our work clash with the walls of the show space, and we don't want our work to make that show space look bad, right? It needs to look good together. So in today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to do your own very specific color palette. So I'll be showing you how to mix your colors and create a wide range of colors you can use that work together in one piece. And in this case, it's also going to work with the colors at the restaurant. So some of you out there are probably thinking, well, most galleries are white, most places I show at are stark white. Yes, and that's the reason, is so that the artwork won't clash with anything, right? It stands on its own against that white. White works with everything, and that's great. Sometimes you're going to come across show spaces that aren't stark white, okay? They can be a wide range of colors. This isn't my first time having to do this. The first time was back in 2013. I was showing at a gallery called Gallery Zero, which is no longer in existence, unfortunately. Anyways, their walls were super bright red. So the pieces that I made for them needed to work within that space, and they did. They turned out beautiful, really, really nice. So the Mont has a very specific color scheme as well. It's got creams, peach, and it looks to be like a phthalo blue. It has a strong phthalo and then a lighter phthalo. And so those are kind of the colors I'm working with, which are easy to clash with, okay, especially with yellows and greens and reds. So I'm going to show you how to make a beautiful color palette that's going to work with that. I'll talk you through it. So hopefully you guys are gonna learn something from this video. All right, so with that all said, let's get painting. Okay, so I've got my acrylic paints here that I'll be using today to mix with. And I have a scrap piece of paper and a pencil, and on it I've written basically the rainbow colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, going all the way up the side. And then I'm going to be painting my example colors across from each one. Okay, so I'm going to start with red. I'm going to start my way from the bottom of the palette and work my way up through the other colors. So I'm opening up the red oxide now, and it is a very strong color. For those of you who do not know, you only need a touch of red oxide for it to really have a big effect on things. So I chose red oxide as my base for the reds because I would really prefer that my color palette be softer and more muted than what I'm used to. So if I were to choose a brighter red for my red base, I'm going to get some really vibrant reds, and I don't want that. So I'm trying to mute the color even more by adding white, really calm it down a bit, and it's going to make it sort of almost a rose color, which is fine. And I'll be playing around with this and see what other colors I can use from the red oxide. Okay, so I have a light rose color and a dark, almost a brick color here. So these reds are good, but I want to try adding a little bit of yellow into the darker red to see if I can change it a little bit more. Okay, look at that color. That is a beautiful deep red color, and adding that touch of yellow really helped to change it just a little, just enough that it separates it a little bit farther from that rose color, so it really does look like a separate color. And I think I'm going to add just a touch more to it and see if we can push it a little bit more. Okay, there. That's a nice terracotta color, and it's just a little bit lighter than that other red color I just made. Okay, so now I'm going to brush on these colors onto the scrap piece of paper to my left. And I'm also going to make a note under each one indicating what exactly I used to achieve that color. Okay, so now that we have our three reds, let's move up into the orange section. I'm going to take that same yellow and just mix it with that red I just finished making. Okay, so I have made a beautiful orange color. I absolutely love this color. I'm very pleased with it. I'm going to mark it down on my sheet, and then let's see if we can make another orange color. So I'm going to come in with some cad orange and mix that into the orange I just made and see if I can just brighten it up a little bit. All right, this is beautiful. It's a little bit more vibrant and I absolutely love it. I'm going to make a note here, make sure I am labeling all of these so I know what I put in the colors, so that way I can recreate them later on when I'm ready for the paintings. Okay, so now let's move on up into the next color area, and that is yellow. So I'm going to actually be making a soft, mellow yellow for this chart here. I think that would work really nice in the space at the restaurant. So I'm actually going to clear off this orange, put it in the corner there, make a nice clean spot on my palette for that new yellow color. I'm going to go ahead and leave a little bit of that orange there and mix that in as well. I think that might give it a nice color. And I'll just need to make sure I note that or remember that in the color chart so that I can recreate this later. Okay, I really love this yellow. I think it turned out great. So I'm going to go ahead and mark it down on my paper to the left. And I'm going to leave some space to the left of that because I want to try making a slightly darker yellow. Okay, so now I'm coming in with some primary yellow and I'm mixing that in with raw sienna. I think this is going to give me a really nice, rich mustard color. Look at that. I just love that color. It's almost a little golden. I think that's going to look great. Okay, so since I'm already in my yellows, I'm going to take this yellow color I just made and I'm going to mix that with white and see if I can get a nice warm off-white color, something that'll go well with those walls at that restaurant. Okay, there we go, a nice super mellow yellow. I'm going to add that to the top under my off-white miscellaneous section up there. Okay, so after I'm done making my notes, I need to clean off my glass palette workspace, nice and clean, and then I'm going to start mixing a couple of green colors next. Okay, so I'm going to be using some of that nice yellow there and mixing that in with phthalo blue for my greens, but since I've got a nice clean spot, I'm going to go ahead and mark down the blues first. So I'm using phthalo. The walls inside the restaurant look like they're basically phthalo, 3 or 4 different variations of it. So pure phthalo and then a little bit of white and a little bit more white. So I'm just going to go ahead and basically recreate that on my color palette. Since I know for a fact that has to work, right? Because the inside of the restaurant are those colors. And now I'm going to take that beautiful yellow color we made and mix it with the phthalo and look at this beautiful rich green color I am getting from it. Oh my gosh, I love it. That is a gorgeous, gorgeous green. Okay, so I'm just going to mark this down, make sure I make my notations here, and then I think I'll add just a little bit of white in there just to see what it's going to look like when I add the white. Okay, so
It's not bad. It's sort of almost minty though. I'm not sure if I'm in love with this one, but I'm going to put it down here just in case I decide I want to try it out. And I can always leave out some of these colors from my test palette. Um, I'm just sort of playing around and exploring the colors right now. And I can go through and pick the ones I like the best for the pieces that I'm going to be making. I don't have to use all these colors. Okay, so while I still have that nice phthalo blue there, I'm going to go ahead and finish my blue section by adding in the whites into the blues, just so I have that on my palette. Okay, so now that I have my blues done, I'm going to go back in with some of the reds that I made and mix those into the blues to see what kind of violets I can possibly get from this. Okay, so that's an interesting violet color. It seems to be almost like a gray blue violet. I'm not sure if I like that. So I'm actually gonna go in with some pre-made violet and play around with that and see what I can get mixing that in with my blue. So I decided to choose Cobalt Violet and mix Phthalo Blue into that. And it's really deep, so I'm going to lighten it up with some white and see what kind of softer violet I could possibly make. This looks okay. This might be okay on the palette. I'm going to mark it down just because I made it, and I'll make a notation to how I made it, and we'll just move forward from there and see what else we can get. Okay, so I'm going to take just a touch of that pale yellow or off-white that we made and mix that in to kind of dilute that color a bit. See if I can soften it. And this looks really interesting. I like this color more than the previous violet. It's much, much softer. It's more mellow, more diluted. I think it might work better in the space. Again, the space of the restaurant is pretty mellow with the exception of the blue. So it has some creams and peaches and then those phthalo colors. So I think this grayer purple would definitely work better than that brighter purple. So I'm going to mark that down too. Okay, so here's my finished um, color palette, my test pieces here, right? So I like a lot of them, but I'm feeling like some of them may not work. But a simple way to actually test out your new palette is with a painting. So that's what we're going to be doing next. So one of the easiest ways you can do to test out your new palette is, like I said, with a painting. And one of the easiest ways or types of paintings you can choose to do that is with a landscape. So as you can see here, I'm going to be incorporating all those colors, or at least try to get all of them in here, into an imaginary landscape. And I know that some of you are sick and tired of the mountains, but you know what? Mountains are super easy to do, and this is just a really great quick way to get those colors on here to test them out. So you're going to have to deal with another mountain today. Okay, so all these colors are working great with each other because we were using our mixed colors and mixing those in with the new colors to create new colors, right? So we started with the reds, which made the orange and the yellows, and then the yellows went into the blues to make the greens. So they all communicate very well with each other because they're sort of related to each other. So looking at this, I think it's really pretty and yeah, it looks great. It's very cohesive, right? It makes sense. But I don't know if I'm in love with that violet. So I may leave that violet out of the future projects. We'll have to wait and see. And just for fun, I'm going to put a little snow cap on that mountain there. Okay, and now I'm just going to touch up a few things here and there and add a little bit of details to finish this piece. Okay, so here it is. I really do love the reds, the orange, the yellows. Those turned out great. Gonna keep those for sure. Obviously, those phthalo blues are gonna stay too. Again, I'm going to probably not use that violet or use it very sparingly. Same with the green. I'm not in love with that green. I might make a different green. But for right now, I think this is pretty good. And I'm going to play around with this new color palette on the new pieces and see what we can get.
All right, so there you have it, a very specific color palette that I'm going to be using for those new pieces over at the Mont restaurant. I think they're all going to turn out great, and I will be working on those throughout the next couple weeks and hopefully film some of that for you so you can see what I'm doing for that space. Well, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this one. It's definitely more educational. Hopefully you got something out of it. If you guys are interested in learning more about art, watching me create, I upload a new video every single Monday morning. So don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons down below, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye!